Have you ever stayed awake at night, unable to quiet your mind because of something beyond your control? Maybe you're concerned about money, your health, your loved ones, or what the future might bring. For many people, worry has become such a regular part of life that it almost feels normal. Some even think worrying is proof that they care deeply. But what if anxiety is taking far more from you than you realize? What if Jesus gave us a completely different way to face fear and uncertainty? Jesus spoke about worry more often than many believers remember, and his words are just as meaningful today as they were centuries ago. While the world expects us to live with constant stress, Jesus invites us into a life filled with peace, confidence, and complete trust in God. Let's look at 5 powerful truths Jesus taught about worry that are easy to overlook. By the end, you may see your challenges from a whole new perspective. Jesus first reminds us not to be consumed by tomorrow. In Matthew 6:34, he says not to worry about the future because each day has enough of its own concerns. That may sound simple, but it's one of his hardest lessons to practice. So much of our anxiety comes from events that haven't even happened. We imagine the worst, create endless what-if scenarios, and carry burdens that may never become real. Jesus knew something we often forget. We can't control tomorrow, but God already holds it in his hands. When our attention stays fixed on the future, we often miss the blessings God has placed before us today. Worry steals our peace, our gratitude, and our ability to trust him. Jesus wasn't telling us to ignore responsibility or stop planning. He was teaching us not to carry tomorrow's weight before tomorrow arrives. God provides the strength needed for today, and when tomorrow comes, he will provide again. Jesus also reminds us that our Heavenly Father already knows exactly what we need. Many fears begin with questions like, "Will I have enough?" or "Will everything work out?" In Matthew 6:32, Jesus reassures us that our Father already knows our needs. Before you ever prayed, God knew. Before your struggle appeared, he knew. Before fear entered your heart, he knew. That changes everything, because worry often makes us feel isolated, as though everything depends on us. But we are not alone. We have a loving Father who sees every detail, understands every concern, and cares deeply for his children. The God who knows every hair on your head also knows every challenge you're facing. Even when you don't know how or when he will provide, you can trust that he already sees the answer. Jesus then points our attention to the world around us. He tells us to look at the birds. They don't spend their lives worrying about tomorrow, yet God faithfully feeds them. He also speaks about the flowers, beautifully clothed without striving or anxiety. Then he asks a question that reaches the heart. Aren't you far more valuable than they are? If God lovingly cares for birds and flowers, how much more will he care for you? You were created in his image and deeply loved by him. Worry can make us forget our value, but Jesus reminds us that the same God who faithfully sustains all creation is fully able to sustain your life as well. Jesus also asks a practical question. Can worrying add even a single hour to your life? The obvious answer is no. Worry feels like we're accomplishing something, but it solves nothing. It drains our energy, steals our sleep, robs us of joy, and leaves us exhausted without changing a single outcome. Imagine if all the time spent worrying was instead spent praying, growing closer to God, or encouraging others. Worry offers the illusion of control, but only produces frustration. Faith places control where it truly belongs, in God's hands. Jesus wanted us to recognize that anxiety has no power to fix our problems, freeing us to place every burden into God's care. Finally, Jesus gives us the greatest answer to worry. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, he tells us to seek God's kingdom and his righteousness first, trusting that everything else will follow according to his plan. Notice that Jesus doesn't only tell us what to avoid, he tells us where to focus instead. Rather than becoming consumed by fear, he calls us to pursue God. Instead of allowing problems to dominate our thoughts, he invites us to keep our hearts fixed on his kingdom. Real security isn't found in circumstances, but in putting God first. As we grow closer to him, our perspective changes. Fear slowly loses its grip because trust begins to fill its place. Worry and faith cannot rule the heart together. One will always replace the other, and Jesus invites us to choose trust. Above all, Jesus wanted his followers to know they never have to carry life's burdens alone. His words are more than comforting promises. They are invitations to trust God completely, release our fears, and experience the peace that comes from knowing he is always in control. If you've been carrying a heavy burden, bring it to God today. Talk to him about it. Place it in his hands. The same God who has faithfully brought you through every challenge you faced is more than able to guide you through whatever lies ahead. If this message encouraged you, please like this video, share it with someone who could use this reminder, and subscribe to Faithful Jesus for more inspiring, faith-filled content. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.